the Raiders. I'll just talk about the Raiders real quick, and I'm not going to be as long as or as eloquent as you. I'm upset today because and you remember I said this, right? I'm watching
Yeah.
football. I'm watching Red Zone, and it shows who's scoring the most.
Yep.
And I've watched a whole lot of Saints fucking football. I watched a lot of Derek Carr balling out. He had for the first 15 drives that he had under snap. They scored in all 15 drives.
Wow.
I believe
Okay.
they set a record today or got into a group of teams of where there was where they in 3 games they scored 47 points or more 3 consecutive games.
Wow.
And everybody here was shitting on Carr. And you remember me saying, it's not Carr, it's the people around Carr. Yeah. Anyway, so now I have Minshew.
Okay.
He threw the most ridiculous, interception last game where he was kind of threw it behind him, like some. It's hard being a Raiders fan, but I'm always going to support him. I'm there for the nation. I think Ontario Pierce, if anybody can get things together, it'll be him. But it's going to be a long season being a fan. And yeah, they pulled a game out, but it was the most boring, ridiculous fucking Phil Wold fest until the very end of the game that you can watch, and it was annoying to watch the offense not work. The defense looked good. Max looked great. Crosby, Crosby. He's a freak, right? But it's going to be a tough season for us.
Well, let's see here. So just to kind of touch on Derek Carr. Wow. Yeah. So you're watching your ex over there with a new man. She got a new car. She in a big house, new clothes, jewelry, and looking at your broke ass. Like, what the fuck is that?
Giving her leftovers from the 5-star restaurant to homeless people and looking good at it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That type of shit.
BBL.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing Pilates, and now look
at got a
man.
BBL and everything.
Now, do you think this is it the system? Has he had a revelation?
I don't know. I mean,
what's going on?
When they played in the first week, who did they play last week? They played somebody that wasn't that great.
I want to see the Panthers.
They might have been, but they beat up on them, right? They beat up on them. It wasn't the game was over at halftime, right? Carr looked good, but the team had a weak defense. It wasn't a strong team, blah blah blah. So you got sometimes you just take it as they're not that good. The other team's just that bad. They played against the Cowboys this week.
Cowboys,
and and touched them up.
I mean, they didn't just sort of win. They
touched them up.
It was
Alvin Kamara is looking great. That offensive line is making good holes. He's making good cuts. Carr is poised. He's delivering the ball where it needs to be. He's also not being harassed in the pocket like he was at the Raiders, and he's able to make some good decisions. He looked good.
Now,
44-19, they beat that ass today. 44-19 against the Cowboys.
And they were in
Cowboy Stadium,
right?
Yes.
Wow, Jera ain't gonna like that.
Somebody got fired today.
Okay.
There's some. But yeah, I mean, they look good, and it's just frustrating. Like you said, it's like watching my ex-girl moving on to a better nigga. Not even that she's doing good. He's just better. You know what I'm saying? He has the better house. And he's a nice person on top of that. He's hard to hate. You know what I mean? It's just like she did better. She did better.
The best thing she ever did was leave your broke ass.
So that was my thoughts today during football.
So let's go to Minshew. All right, so you're rebuilding this thing. You couldn't get the quarterback you wanted because the Falcons picked Penix for inexplicable reasons. So now you're stuck with Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. All right. So what's going on there? Is it them still? Is it them or is it still the team around them?
It's it can't be them. They are at best quarterbacks that don't lose games. They're not going to win games, right? Um, it's the team around him at best. I mean, it's a tough. I mean, like it's tough watching him because I know he has growth in him and he may have potential. But I think right now, what's rubbed off of me is my time living in the Kansas City area. I don't give a fuck. I want
All
competency
right.
today, and I'm just not seeing it.
Might need to get your Chiefs fandom on and say fire the coach, fire the GM.
I don't know. I think what the Raiders needed stability, and that's something that program's never had.
Uh huh. Okay. Well, let's talk about that for a second. So, I mean, I kind of like Antonio
I do
Pierce.
too.
Like he's got that grit in him.
Got
You know
that
what I'm
dog in
saying?
him.
Got that dog. Got that dog. So I feel like that's rubbing off on the defense. Now I don't know what you're gonna do with the offense,
Yeah, the
but
defense looks. The defense looked. I mean, going back to it being a boring game, and
uh,
it being a 9 point game going into, or it was 6-9 at halftime, all field goals. Right. I mean, that does say something about that defense. You know what I mean? And their ability to stop Max Crosby. Like I said, he was great, and they were playing against what's his name, their quarterback, the one that runs all over the place. Fuck, drawing him.
oh,
Yeah,
Lamar
Lamar
Jackson.
Jackson, which is no slouch, right? And to
Right?
hold them the
Well,
way
that's
that
the
they
thing.
did, they got tired though, is what I saw. It was the first 3 quarters they played really well, but towards the end, you could see that chasing down Jackson all game was starting to wear that defensive line thin, and which then allowed opportunities. Zay Flowers had this incredible catch where he ran out of the pocket, he ran for his life. Max Crosby barely missed him, and he throws this cross body pass, and I could see the air starting to let out the defense at that point. They were tired.
Okay, but I mean, yeah, you guys are one and
Yeah,
one on a team that I didn't have high expectations
no,
for, and you hemmed up one of the top teams supposedly
supposedly,
in the AFC, last year's AFC Championship
yeah.
contender. So I don't
There's
know. Are
some
you
there's
guys?
some
Is it
glimmer of hope, but I just don't know how this. It's all going to depend on how they can work with or around or through them into.
okay? So you're not trying to throw this year. You guys are going to compete.
No, I mean I've heard that you go on the fan boards, they talk about crazy shit like that, but no, I don't think it's in. I don't think it's in a
Is
Raiders.
it?
I don't think it's in the Raiders organization to do something like that.
Okay. All right.
Once again, you think Antonio Pierce is going to say throw a season in his in his early career as a head coach? That's
I say he's got a year. You can toss this year. Next year, you draft, Shador Sanders or someone that's going to play the Raiders' way, and then you take off.
now we got
You
some
know.
stars, bro. After this Gruden thing, you're gonna have to do faster rebuilds. You're gonna have to do faster rebuilds, all right? Like you had a 10-year plan before, and we were patient, and that got us nowhere.
Oh man, I forgot about that. It was a 10-year
Yeah,
contract. How many
yeah.
million? Wow. I have a feeling that he kind of did that on purpose, like just to fuck you guys, because he's got a bad history with the Raiders, if I'm not mistaken.
He had a bad history with Al. Yeah, but a lot of people who worked in and around Al had a bad history with Al. So I mean, that's you. I complained about it for years. He was an asshole. Like how he put Marcus Allen out there at the Chiefs. I mean, that was just some hoe shit.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah. And I watched him squirt and squirt all them short runs and get them touchdowns for y'all. I was pissing me off. Yeah. But I mean, that's
Uh,
how it goes. Sometimes, sometimes there's certain teams that are plagued with bad ownership, and the Cowboys are starting to get there too, right? The owner is they're too visible. They are making decisions that are already tough even more difficult because they're choosing to do it in a public eye and hold press conferences and talk instead of having their mechanism talk for them the way it should work. There's a lot of teams out there that you couldn't you have no idea who the fucking owner is,
Yeah.
but everybody know who owns
But
the
you,
Cowboys. Everybody know who owns the Raiders, and it's because those old meddling ass owners. They need to go. A lot of them need to just step back.
where there's an ego too as well. Like these owners are very much they want to be stars.
They are.
Like Jerry Jones doesn't want the Cowboys to be you know successful without his face in front of the whole thing, right? I don't know what Al is. Al Davis Jr. Is
Yeah,
that who he is?
he's more low key, and he's
Okay,
absolutely more. He's about
Al
the
that.
business, and I like him. He doesn't come out much. I hear more about him in the city around his like with the Aces because he also owns the world championship WNBA basketball team, the Aces, and they do good. Um,
Yeah,
we could have a whole segment on that. It's ridiculous. Um, just the way that the league runs, the lack of money that comes into the league, the overall lack of fan support, particularly from women who then complain about the salaries not being there because the league actually runs in a deficit.
yeah.
It's things like that. I mean, a lot of those they deserve a lot more recognition than they get. But they just don't. There's no spotlight. It feels like for them, they're not going to get the airtime. They're not getting the endorsements, except for when the Caitlin Clark came in. Caitlin did up the level of the game. People were looking at it. Her name recognition was high. She became like the Jordan of it. And she came out there and she played fairly well. Um,